Welcome to The Frontrunner Show with Carol Nichols.
Hello, I'm Carol Nichols, and I'm pleased to host The Frontrunner Show. My guest today is Ed Milkie. And Ed has been an investment professional here in Dallas for over 40 years. I met Ed when I was a young analyst at First in Dallas, and Ed was at E.F. Hutton. And when Ed speaks, everybody listens. So, Ed, I'm so glad to have you here on the show today. And you were going to speak with us about 5G and why that's important.
Yes. Well, Carol, I'll tell you, several years ago, I started hearing the term 5G and got very interested. And the more I looked into it, the more excited I got about everything that I was learning and hearing. 5G, for some people who haven't really heard much about it yet, is the next generation of wireless communication. And it's going to augment and be faster than your 4G that you have on your phone or 4G LTE. You know, we've been through the iterations of 2G and 3G, which people never heard about much. Mm-hmm. But when 4G came about, it was a big deal. Okay, 5G is the next iteration of wireless communication.
Okay, and I understand that there's a lot of money being invested, including the government. I read recently that the government was going to spend $9 billion on 5G. Mm-hmm. So tell us more about where all this money is coming from.
Well, actually, the government spending is going to be a lot more than just the $9 billion that they've allocated. A lot of that is what they're allocating just up front. They've committed right now, in an act that just passed a couple of weeks ago, to commit a minimum of $2 billion a year for the next 10 years to building out networks in the rural areas, because so many of those have been underserved by 3G and 4G. A lot of those rural areas right now only are able to get internet by way of satellite. Mm-hmm. And those speeds with satellite, remember when you had the old dial-up, the 300 baud, and you'd hear all the
Yeah.
A lot of those people still have something similar or not much faster than that. Where in our homes today, we're used to having 50 megabytes up and down in a second, or 100 or 200. I have 200 at home.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
But the government has committed that part.
Uh-huh.
But beyond that they don't really speak a lot about, mm-hmm. they've already spent hundreds of billions of dollars in research and development, getting ready for this. There are going to be bandwidth auctions, which have already taken place, that are in the billions of dollars, that all of the large wireless carriers have already bought. So the spending that's going to go into 5G mm-hmm. over the next several years, it's already happened, mm-hmm. part of it, but over the next several years is an astronomical amount of money.
Wow.
And it's not just in America. Uh-huh. It is around the world.
Yes. Well, I read that the U.S. and China are in a race for 5G. What does that mean? Why are we in a race with China?
We're in a race because this technology is going to change everything. Mm-hmm. And I know that sounds maybe like it's a huge exaggeration, but it isn't. And the first one who gets their protocols into the system first will wind up being the winner. It's like when there was a race years ago between Betamax and DVDs and DVRs and things of that nature. Everything that the front runner winds up putting into the market, the other systems will follow.
Well, it's like a space race. We also have been in a space race before with other countries.
Yes.
So this is a technology race.
Yes, it is. And this is a technology race that will affect everyone on Earth, from the smallest village in a remote area to the major cities.
So what are some of the security risks with China's system versus the U.S. system?
Well, I'm not an expert in that area, but I've read quite a bit, like the things that have been in the newspapers. Huawei, ZTE Corporation, those are the two large China manufacturers. Huawei more than others because they make more of the large server database that supports 5G. America has always been afraid that Chinese equipment had back doors into them, so that anything that we transmit using their equipment, they have a way to get in and look at it.
I see.
A bad example of that is, unfortunately for me, I have a home camera system that's made by a Chinese manufacturer. But it's the largest and supposedly the best equipment in the world, HIK Vision. Okay? Just recently, it's been found out that everything that we can look at on that system, they've got a way to look into. Okay? So that's why America and the U.S. government is so worried about the Chinese equipment manufacturers.
So we need to have our own system. So that's where all the spending is coming from, is to develop our own independent system that can be secure.
Exactly.
Okay. And what got you interested in 5G? How long have you been studying this?
Oh, I've been studying 5G now for over 3 years. What got me into it is, obviously, I'm in the investment business. I'm always looking at how do you make money with the newest technology that's coming out. You know, what companies do you buy? How is it going to interact with the rest of the economy and so forth?
So what is the impact going to be on our economy with this 5G rollout?
Okay. I know it'll sound like it's a huge exaggeration, but it isn't. Everything is going to be connected. Okay. You know, when you walk in, and 5G, just to explain a little bit, is made up of different bandwidths. Okay. They have millimeter bandwidths. Think of that as being a huge pipe that a lot of data can flow through, down to smaller hertz and megahertz that'll carry that signal farther and farther and farther. Okay, and the farther you get away, the less data they carry. So it's to understand a little of that is important. But think about this: you can walk into AT&T Stadium, and there are over 100,000 people there, and everybody's got a smartphone now, and they want to be connected. They want to download something. They may want to look at a replay. Okay, all of that is huge amounts of data. Okay, right now there may be buffering, there may be problems, there may be outages, there are overloads. 5G is going to eliminate all of that. 5G will be able to handle a tremendous amount of data at speeds that we don't even imagine today. You know, just for a layperson, think about this. If you were downloading a 4K movie to your cell phone, it would be about a 4-minute process to get that done. The estimates are that when 5G is totally built out, that'll be a 2-second download.
Wow.
Now think about that. That is a huge difference.
Yeah.
You know, 2 seconds versus 4 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that acceleration is going to allow so many other things to be possible. And that's the driverless cars and the robotics.
Exactly. You'll be operated on in California by a surgeon in New York City. And the reason they don't do that today is the latency. You know, the signal is still got to travel, and it is slow. And think about this. When I said that 5G is the next generation of wireless technology, don't mistake that there's going to be a wireless signal that goes from New York to California. What will happen is the speed of whatever is connected to the internet by 5G gets to the tower. That signal then goes into the ground or into fiber optic cable, which are all over this country and all over this world now. And they're being built out more and more every day.
Right.
Okay. And the latency is just going to be where it's not even measurable hardly.
Okay. And that's where the new innovation will come in. With this no latency, there'll be an explosion in other robotics and driverless cars and
the driverless cars, the industries that are going to change are going to be tremendous, because the reason driverless cars haven't come about to a real proliferation is when that car has a sensor on it, it picks up something that it is measuring, relays that back to the car, but the decision is not made in the car. The decision of whether to turn that steering wheel left or right, or give it more speed or more brake, or make a change, comes from a data center somewhere. All of this data is being relayed back. It's estimated that the amount of data that'll be generated because of 5G will dwarf everything that's been collected from the time man started in life, by 2025, we will have quadrupled that amount of data and need more. It's estimated that just the data centers alone, that we're going to be over 4,000 data centers short
For the 5G
versus what we
rollout.
have now.
So there's
for
going to be a lot
5G.
of building and investment for
Tremendous
I guess
amount.
cell towers and data centers.
Cell
and,
towers, think about this. Right now, a cell tower has roughly 15, maybe 20 antennas on it. Okay. A cell tower for 5G is going to have, they've estimated, 128 antennas.
Wow.
Now, there are a lot of investments that I look at and you think, why is that billboard company, for instance, of interest to somebody looking at 5G?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because the ground is already there. There's electricity going to most of those. Every one of those plain old billboards, some are the ones that are just printed on, some are the ones that that change with TV screens, but every one of those towers is going to wind up being a 5G antenna.
It's already existing infrastructure that you could put an antenna on top.
Exactly.
Because we're going to need lots of antennas, we're going to need lots of data centers. So it sounds like there's going to be a lot of capital spending to support this 5G boom. So what's going to be the impact on the stock market in 2020 or 2021 from this 5G
The impact on the
investment?
stock market is just going to be a tremendous amount of money going into the companies that are going to support first the infrastructure for the build out of 5G. The next thing that comes once you have the infrastructure to support it, you're going to have devices. And devices might be a new cell phone, because there's not a cell phone today that is a 4G cell phone that can connect to 5G. You know, 5G can step down and you can use your 4G cell phone, but you can't get 5G speeds.
Yeah.
So over the next 2 to 3 years, every cell phone in the world
It's going to be replaced.
will be
Oh, my.
replaced.
But not only the replacement of existing technology, but the new technology that we
Yes.
haven't even thought of.
Oh,
They're probably
there's
gonna
so
be
much
there.
new technology that we don't know. For instance, people don't realize now, because we think real short term in the world, we do. There was not an app on a phone until 4G came along. 3G couldn't support
Apps.
the interaction between apps and decision making and things of that. 4G enabled apps. 4G enabled the Internet of Things. Your Ring doorbell, your toaster that's connected, your refrigerator. Well, think about this. 5G is going to connect everything. You're not only going to have the example that I use, you're not going to just go to a sporting venue and be connected. Your cities are going to turn out to be smart cities. The government's going to connect their traffic lights. They're going to connect their heating and air for every building they own. They're going to monitor cameras everywhere. There's going to be facial recognition. There's going to be things that we don't think about, but it's not going to be just what we're thinking of today as a smart city. It's going to be completely smart. Everything is going to be connected to everything.
Wow.
A lot of people don't like that, but that's what progress is.
That's what the future holds for us.
That's
So-
what the future is.
Yeah, yeah.
It's George Jetson coming to life, if you would.
Wow. So how can an investor participate in this 5G growth? There's going to be so much capital deployed. Seems like there'll be a lot of opportunities for new companies and expanding businesses and many opportunities.
There are going to be tremendous opportunities. First of all, like I was mentioning, infrastructure build out. That's a whole category unto itself. That's going to be data centers, cell towers, the companies that make the antennas, the companies that make the antennas that'll be inside of each device. Like your cell phone now has probably 2 antennas in it. It's going to take 5 antennas plus to handle the speed of 5G. All of that's infrastructure build out, and that's stock market companies that deal with those. Next are going to come the devices. That's going to be your toasters, your cell phone, your car. It's going to be the next thing that we don't even think about today that's connected by way of the Internet of Things, if you would. And there will be billions upon billions. It's estimated that in 2015, there were approximately 15 billion Internet of Things. That's anything connected to the Internet. Intel estimates that by the end of 2020, we will be at 200 billion things connected to the Internet. So
amazing.
So
200
you've got
billion connections.
200 billion things connected.
Yes.
And not just those connections. One thing may be connected to 2 or 3 things.
Yes.
That's why you need the speed of 5G.
The speed.
Then when you get beyond the devices, you've had infrastructure, that's stock market, and all the companies that do that. Then you have the devices and everything that goes into making those, and that'll be companies in the market. Next you have services. And the services are the things like we talked about, the long-distance robotic surgeries, the autonomous cars, the vehicles. But they're going to be things that I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
They're going to be things that are developed simply because the speed with which we're able to communicate and things communicate are going to enhance. It's going to enable artificial intelligence. It's going to enable augmented reality, virtual reality.
The robotics industry will be huge.
So there are going to be a lot of individual companies that do extremely well. You know, I'm not at liberty on a program like this to talk about individual companies, but there are a tremendous amount that will do very, very well. There will be fortunes made.
Well, this is the new gold rush.
Years. Yes, it
sounds
is.
as transformational as when the Transcontinental Railroad was put in place. It changed the speed of communication. For thousands of years, the speed of communication had been that of a horse.
Yes.
And with the railroad put in, it quadrupled the speed of communication. And it sounds like with the 5G revolution, we will be increasing the speed of communication astronomically.
Yes.
As well as the complexity and as well as the security. So there are a lot of things people should be aware of or thinking about for 2020. It's not only the opportunity to make money or participate in this boom, but how their lives might change with technology, and also how they need to continue to stay secure and invest in security systems to keep their data secure. This is the next gold rush, isn't it?
It sure is. You know, and unfortunately we've seen recently things where there are always malicious people trying to get into your various systems. We saw the various doorbells that have been hacked. We've seen the people who have cameras inside their homes, which I don't do that, and I don't think I ever would, but
they need to be aware and watch the settings. I think it's important that people check the settings on their security devices and make sure that they have privacy settings enabled. And I think even a little bit of black tape over the camera lens can be helpful if there's a camera on your TV.
Right.
And
old school works very well sometimes.
Still works. But it's great to be looking to the future with you, Ed, and these are some exciting things to think about for 2020. And I've been pleased to have Ed Milkie on our show. We'll flash Ed's phone number and contact information. You can follow up directly with Ed if you'd like to know more about how to participate in this transformation that will happen with 5G. And I want to thank everyone for joining us on the Front Runner Show. You can follow my show on frontrunner.com and look forward to seeing you on the next show. Thank you.